No. You cannot ask that of me. Not this. There must be another way. You ask too much of me. I can't. But not like this. Not like this. I admit it. I desire it. But I can't! No! Stop! Get out of my head! It is finished.
Originally, we were going to do a more accurate Minecraft character, but then we didn't. So today we're going to show you how we made it look like me, how we modeled the final shape, and toward the end, a compositing technique that you're going to love. So, you know, just... To make a Minecraft me, the first thing we tried was photogrammetry, which is more automated, but we were getting uneven geometry, so we went with a Blender add-on called Face Builder. We ended up snapping a bunch of images and using around 10 that circled my head. That way Mattis could plug that into the app to approximate the shape accurately. These face fuzzies are an invading force causing mass harm to Face Builder, so we need to remove that. Manually removing it would have been an absolute nightmare, so instead we used AI. In Photoshop, I'll select the area, tell it no beard, and boom, I look like I should be arrested. So let's just get rid of this too, add some money eyes, tweak the hair, and we have something perfect to send to Mattis. Nice. Why? After Mattis removed my beard, he activated Face Builder in Blender, created a new head, then aligned the facial landmarks in the photos to the model for each angle. This is a manual process, but it gives you precise control over the final shape, and once the alignment looks good, he can hit Create Texture. Face Builder then creates an 8K stitched head texture from those, which is beautiful. Look at it. And the 8K is important since we will have some close-ups, but now it's time to square this daddy.
I look good 24/7.
Using simple sculpting tools in Blender, mostly the grab and crease brushes, Mattis manually pushed and pulled the shape until we had the stylized blocky version that still felt like the absolute smoke show that is Ryan Connolly.
All your 10s, I'm an 11. I'm an 11.
Now, the base texture from Face Builder was a great starting point, but for realism, we needed additional skin details. So Mattis layered a seamless PBR skin texture over the model, specifically using its normal, roughness, and height maps. This gave us detailed surface pores and a more natural skin response to light. Then, to add a subtle, sweaty sheen, we took a black and white raindrop texture and mixed it into the roughness map of the skin. This added variation and broke up the uniformity, and finally, he applied a higher tiling value to the PBR texture and added a subtle subsurface scattering, giving us a more realistic looking CG head with clean topology and a believable surface detail. After that, Mattis added all the hair using 3 separate hair systems and added custom eyes since the one generated by Face Builder were baked into the head mesh and didn't give much flexibility. So he used iRig with geometry nodes by Max Edge. This allowed us to match my eyes and have full control over all the things. For the body, Mattis Mattis grabbed a base mesh from Character Creator and, like with the head, sculpted using basic tools to give us that blocky look. Then handled the clothing using Marvelous Designer. Then we were ready to rig and animate. Of course, this is all just an overview of the high-intensity, exciting modeling process Mattis went through. Today's partner is all over this episode already, and basically every episode we make, and that is Artlist. For the opening sketch, we pulled sound effects and music, which I did end up using 4 different tracks to make the whole, but I knew I wanted an overly dramatic opera song for that end moment. So I can come into music here, then search, and thanks to their new AI search, I can be very specific and type something like dramatic operatic singing, and I get a ton of options. You also have other great new ways to find solid music for your project on here, like on the homepage, you have the trending music tool. This matches viral tracks with royalty-free songs, but the biggest new feature for me has been the extension panel for Premiere Pro. Instead of going back and forth from Artlist to Premiere, I have it all right here in this panel. Music, sound effects, footage, and so on. So I can search for a track, download right here, and it goes straight into my project. Even more amazing is that a lot of the tracks have stems broken out. So if you see this on the track, I can click in, then turn off any element of the track that I don't want, then download these into my project. And after that, I've been creating unique sequences with these stems so I can then use it in my main timeline as a single audio track, but still have the option to come in here and adjust or extend however I need. It has genuinely made my life 1,000 times better when adding music. And Artlist just continues to grow and add great features. You of course have stock footage, music, and sound effects, but there's also a ton of templates, plugins, and over 300 premium LUTs with advanced filters and previews. They have a subscription type for every creative too, whether you just want music and sound effects, footage and templates, or everything, there is going to be something there that's going to fit your needs, so definitely check out the links in the notes below and give it a try.
Ain't it great to animate?
No. Animation is hard, and we're not great at it, so we used Rokoko suits. But first, we needed our rig. And again, being the lazy pieces of shit that we are, we used Mixamo to auto-rig the body and Blender's advanced rigging system, Rigify, for the face. And now we could move on to the animation, which I shot an absolutely incredible reference version for while partially sick in the office alone on the weekend.
I must ask too much of you, brother.
Inspired.
Yes.
But as bad as the reference is, these things really do go a long way in making sure that everyone is headed toward that same target. So with this in Mattis's hands, Mattis was able to match the pace for each shot using the Rokoko suit for the body movements and then adding the facial animation all manually. At the top of the episode, I mentioned a compositing trick, which isn't really compositing, but rather something that's going to set us up for very easy compositing, and that's a technique called the delighting process that we used here, which removes shadows and baked lighting from footage or textures, leaving only the albedo. This allows for accurate relighting in 3D scenes without clashing with CG lighting. First, we'll match our Blender camera with the real-world camera. You can use F-Spy or the Perspective Plotter add-on for that, but now with the shot lined up correctly, Mattis modeled a low poly version of the hallway, which will be used for projecting the footage back onto the scene. And the lighting here is key, and thankfully pretty simple. We didn't use an HDRI for the scene since we're in a small enclosed space. Manually recreating gave more control, but we did grab 360 images to use as a helpful guide for where all the lights were in the scene. We had a red light shining through the door frame, some diffuse ceiling lights, and stretched rectangular lights to mimic the real-life tube lights at the end of the hall. But now we're going to create a new material. Switch to the camera view, select the camera, and use the camera project node from Ian Hubert's Compify add-on. Then in the shader editor, Mattis added an image texture node, loaded in our video footage, enabled auto refresh, and connected the camera's project node to the vector input. To combine this with the lighting, we connected the image texture to an emission shader, combined it with a principled BSDF using a mix shader, and used a light path node and plugged isCameraRay into the mix factor. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, that last part, I have no idea what the I just said. But now that we have our lighting reference image, the next step is to perform a divide blending operation, dividing the original footage by this reference image. This effectively removes baked-in lighting and shadows, isolating the albedo of the surface for accurate relighting in 3D. Next up, we'll need to bake the lighting from our projected footage. So first, we'll create a new image texture node with a 4K resolution, then unwrap our hallway mesh using Smart UV Project. Then in Render, Bake, set the margin to 4 pixels and enable denoising, and bake the result into our new 4K image texture. Back in the shader editor, we'll unplug the previous mix shader, create a mix RGB node, set it to divide, enable clamp, and set factor to 1. Then plug the original footage into input A and the baked lighting image into input B. The output of this node was connected into a diffuse BSDF and then into the material output. So when we switched to the rendered view, we now had a fully delighted hallway that looked identical to the real footage. But we could now add CG lights and objects, and they would interact naturally with the environment. Now all we need to do is move our CG character in and everything clicks together. Shadows, reflections, lighting, all perfectly integrated thanks to this delighting and projection workflow.
But I believe Aang can save the world.
We even tested removing one of the lights from the original footage by tweaking our CG lighting setup, and the results were incredibly moody and cinematic. And best of all, since most of the compositing was done in real time here, post-processing was minimal, just going to After Effects, matching black levels, adding some blurs and noise where needed, and that was it. Since again, most of the compositing was already handled inside of Blender thanks to the delighted projection workflow. But that's how we turned me into an unnecessary nightmare-fueled version of a real-life Minecraft character. But as always, if you dug this episode, I'd make an altar of your likeness and pray to it daily if you considered sharing the episode. And of course, hit the subscribe and bell button to be notified when we put up new content. But until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat. You're looking for more Blender tutorials? Well, might I suggest this one? Or perhaps this one? Where we create stuff? I don't actually know what we're going to put here. Enjoy yourself.
I'll see you later. Ta-ta.